We saw a couple new faces out here on the pitch training with you guys, some trialists. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about them?
Yeah, just they're guys who we've seen just from our scouting department seen. They were also kind of in the area, if you will, a couple of the guys. They were whether vacationing in Toronto or in their off-season in the area. We took the opportunity to bring them in and see them this week. In terms of guys, there's also Daniele Galopa, who was also shares agent with Seba, who was in town. So we got him out in training, just taking a look at him. And it's the challenges with MLS is we have a full roster and we've got a full budget. And so anything that we have to do is going to require some other things. So we're always looking to make our team better, but at the same time, nothing is imminent in terms of what we're trying to do. We're doing our diligence and looking around at all possibilities.
Is there any need for perhaps reinforcements with the Gold Cup coming up? Is that potentially something that might see an additional player being added, or maybe even two?
It's possible. I think it's got to all have a longer-term view to it. I mean, at the end of the day, the Gold Cup it affects 3 games for us, really 4 games, but 1 game we can't make any roster changes anyways. So it's a matter of 3 games. So anything we do isn't going to be related to the Gold Cup. It's going to be about making our team better for the long haul, and hopefully, obviously, position ourselves for playoffs and so on and so forth, and maybe even into next year. But nothing will be done with a short-term view to it.
What's the club's philosophy in terms of making changes to the roster? Obviously, MLS teams are constantly adapting, but are you comfortable with the team that you've assembled, or do you think that there's a couple positions that maybe need reinforcements?
I'm pretty comfortable with our team. I mean, always the challenge is injury and making sure that the guys are healthy and that you can rely upon them over the long haul and in the most important time of the year, come playoffs. And for me, that's the only thing that gives me any sort of question on whether we need to reinforce anything. But aside from that, I'm happy with our group, and like I said, we would only do anything if we really thought it made sense for our team. But we're happy with where we're at.
Was the week off beneficial, or you lose that momentum prior to the break?
Yeah, I don't like the fact that we lost some momentum and that we didn't have a match and keep that rhythm going. At the same time, I think it was good for us to kind of get a break to sort of relieve some of the stress for a little bit, bodies to heal. We've got a lot more numbers back into training after the extra week off as guys are getting healthy. Selection is getting larger in terms of choices of guys coming back. And now we position ourselves. The summer is always a challenge in MLS because you're missing guys, and obviously it gets a little bit warmer for all of these games. So it's good for the guys to regenerate now. I think the focus is right. Guys came back in a positive mood and have trained well all week. So what's important for us is that we come off to a good start at this week, and obviously we know it's an important week with 3 home games in front of us. So we lose the rhythm, but we gain maybe some rest in this.
It's at the national game Tuesday night, and one of the things Julian Guzman said after the game is that, especially since Benito Floro was taking over the national team, guys just learn a lot. Like every time they go to camp with the national team, they come back knowing something they hadn't known before. Have you noticed a similar development with guys like Ashton Morgan and guys like Jonathan Osorio since they've been called to the national team?
It's tough to say just because both Ash and John have really just gone into one camp recently, and they've only been back in training for 1 day. So it's hard to say that they specifically in the short term have come back with anything new or different. I know they have within their team, they have their own tactics and the way they do things, which is a little bit different than us, which is different than every team. So I'm sure they have some ideas that are new and unique to what they do in their team. But I haven't spoken to them or seen anything in 1 day that is unique to new learning anyways.
Maybe just an injury update. There's a lot of guys who were out there today. How are players like Robbie Finley, Stephen Caldwell doing, and is there any other injury concerns you have this week?
No new injury concerns. Robbie's back in the group. He's feeling good. So we've been kind of testing him, and most for Robbie is getting a session under his belt and how does he respond the next day, and everything has been good. Stephen is again making progress. He's on the field. He's working with the ball. He's running. We'll start to integrate him into more training next week. But he's definitely pushing towards getting a lot closer. Mark Bloom is again getting closer. We've had a couple sort of started to reintegrate him. He feels a little something still not quite there over the hump. So we're kind of back and forth with Mark, but we're hoping that he's close. And Daniel Leva tweaked the knee a little bit in in the Man City game is he's back into doing most of the training. We didn't get him into any live stuff just because the tackling part of it is kind of the last thing that comes when you have a minor MCL strain. So we kept him out of stuff, but he's doing the majority of everything else. So and Clement is back into starting to run again, and so hopefully over the next couple of weeks he'll be reintegrated back into the group. But aside from that, I think we're doing well.
So maybe is it more difficult when you have a full roster to pick from, or is your job somehow made easier when there's less players? I mean, how does this change the way you approach the selection of your 18?
Well, if there's less guys, I have less choices to make, so then everybody just makes the 18 and we go from there. When there's more guys, then the hard part is that you have guys who are working hard, who are good players that you have to let know they're not going to be in the 18 that week, and that's, it poses a different sort of management issue, right? But that is about communication and letting guys know where they are all the time. But it's a good thing to have because you want to have selection because everybody brings a little something different to the team and a little different look, and so we want everybody to be healthy, especially in a stretch where we have 3 games in a week and we're losing guys to the Gold Cup coming up, so you want to have everybody healthy and you want to have as much selection as possible, and so it's really important and good that we're getting guys back right now.